Hey everyone, welcome to our first crash recap. I'm Justin, and today we're going to be going over my first ever crash with a drone. In this crash, a hawk attacked my drone. Luckily, I was recording when this happened, so towards the middle to end of this video, you guys will get to see actual video footage from the drone's perspective when the hawk took it out. This happened with the DJI Mini 3 Pro. You'll see pictured up there in the corner. And it happened at Abandoned Ski Tent and Ski Resort in Ulysses, PA, which you'll see a picture of that up in the corner now. So without further ado, let's get into it. In this photo here, you can see the orange dot down at the bottom there. That orange dot represents where I was during this flight, where I took off from, where I'd planned to land at, where I had my landing pad, where I was operating out of. The yellow dot at the top is where my maneuver started when I started recording. Then you can follow the red line down throughout my flight path, and you'll see where the drone was flying while this happened. And then at the bottom of that, you'll see the blue dot, and the blue dot shows where the hawk eventually attacked my drone and took it out of the sky. You'll see right there in the bottom there, the triangle is where my drone is. I started at the top of Abandoned Ski Tent, all the way at the very, very top. I flew forward, down through one of the paths to the top of the ski lift, which is that white thing you'll see there in the middle. Then I did a little look around stuff, took my time, went to the right, and then once I got to the right, I lined up and got ready to go down that path you can see there and get just some awesome footage going down that path. I thought it was going to be cool. It was supposed to be really cool. It was really cool, and then a hawk decided to ruin it. So here you'll see I'm going down the path, no problems whatsoever, no issues, and all of a sudden, I get down to that tree there, and the hawk grabs it. And you can see with these flight records here, everything that happened, all the warning signs I got and everything. And here's the same thing, zoomed in a little bit, just towards the very end where the hawk attacked the drone. And you can see it spun around a couple times, I'm assuming from when the hawk grabbed it and it went down. And now the part everyone's been waiting for. This is the actual footage that was taken when this crash happened. You can see I'm flying down through between the trees there, just about the top of the tree level. I ended up going a little bit lower as I came down like I wanted to. It was supposed to be a nice, smooth shot, no issues. I already made sure everything was completely clear, no wires in the way, nothing. And all of a sudden, as you see that tree on the right there, which is what I remembered when I went to look for the drone, you see I got right next to that tree, and out of the blue, the drone went down. Now, wasn't sure at the time. I actually didn't know it was a hawk. I had no access to this video until I recovered the drone, but as you can see here, if you look at the gap in the light there, you can see the hawk's head as he pecks at the drone. And he sat there and pecked at the drone for a while, messing with the gimbal and stuff, just going crazy with the drone. I don't know what his fascination was with it, but like I said, there's a few spots in this video here where you can see clearly that the hawk was messing with the drone still, and he stuck around for a good 4 minutes probably until the drone finally shut off. And I don't know how long he stuck around after that, but there you have it. So now that you guys saw the video of what happened, the flight records, and a couple edited pictures to show you what was going on, let's go over the crash debrief. First, let's start with what happened that went wrong, stuff that I didn't do properly, or stuff that should have been done better. I'm going to be honest, I had just gotten this drone 3 days before this happened. No issues, I had no crashes, but I'm not going to pretend that I didn't do stuff I shouldn't have been doing with it. And to be completely fair, I did study up on the laws. I knew what I shouldn't have been doing. And in this case, this specific incident, it was just a misunderstanding. I did have visual line of sight of the drone, barely. I was able to see the drone. I could see the drone very well. However, according to the FAA, visual line of sight means that you have to be able to see the drone's attitude, altitude, obstacles around it, check the airspace. And the reality is that I could not tell the drone's attitude. And I was not able to safely check the airspace around the drone, obviously, because the hawk came out of the air to get the drone. So as you can see, I really should have. I wish I would have known better. I didn't fully understand. I read it as, you know, you have to have visual line of sight. I could see the drone, and I could see the drone very well. It was a good distance away, but I mean, I could see the drone, and I took that as being within visual line of sight. That was incorrect, and it could have cost me a drone. Luckily, it did not. The drone survived, but that is something to keep in mind. And another thing to keep in mind when it comes to that is the fact that while I could see the drone while I was making the flight and doing that maneuver, the issue I learned, or the thing that I learned from that, was that while I could see it then, you saw all the trees around me. Once that hawk grabbed the drone and took it below the tree line, I could not see the drone anymore. So while that may or may not be technically illegal, I mean, legally, I'm not required to make accommodations for hawks that want to attack drones. But the issue was that, I mean, if I would have considered that a little bit better, I could have watched the drone actually go down and would have seen right where it crashed. As it turns out, I did not see where it crashed. I ended up having to use the drone's features that it has to find where it had crashed. But I really should have considered that. And since then, I've considered that a lot more. When I fly, I always make sure I either know the area that I'm flying very, very well and it's easily accessible, or I'm standing close enough to make sure that I can see from the air where the drone is straight down to the ground where the drone's going to go down if something happens. Because otherwise, you may not know and you could be 10 feet off, but that could mean the difference between finding the drone and not finding the drone afterwards. Another thing that I did wrong was, I had the drone for 3 days. I flew way beyond my experience and ability. I mean, the fact that I hadn't had a problem until then, and that I didn't have a problem after then for a while. My next crash was, I think, a month afterwards. That really humbled me a little bit after the hawk took the drone out of the sky and I had to climb all the way up Ski Denton to get it. But definitely, I mean, I should have flown more within my experience and ability. And I recommend that to newer drone operators now when they talk to me and ask me questions about it. Definitely make sure you fly within your experience and ability. If you had the drone for 3 days, you are not ready to be doing any of the stuff that I was doing. I wasn't ready to be doing the stuff I was doing, and I've used remote control aircraft all my life. But I was not ready to be doing what I was doing with that drone, and more so the fact that I was outside the bounds of the law to begin with, technically, with the line of sight. So even if I had the experience and the ability, I was still way outside where I should have been. Another thing, and the last thing that I really did wrong that day, was I had no emergency plan in case something happened, and I had no recovery plan for the drone. Now, whenever I fly now, I always have an emergency plan in case something happens. I know where I want to set it down, what I could do if something happens. I try to consider different possibilities. One of those possibilities now in my considerations is hawks attacking the drone. I had heard about this before, but I had never considered it would happen to me. And the other thing is having a recovery plan. I always make sure I have a recovery plan of some sort, whether it's I'm flying over a pond and I'm standing right at the edge ready to dive in and get the drone. Or if I'm going up a mountain, then I have I'm not going up a sheer cliff hoping that the drone doesn't crash, because if it does, I can't get up that cliff. I always try to make sure I have some kind of recovery plan to get the drone back. It may not seem super important. I do have DJI Care Refresh. I can replace the drone for $80 or whatever it is. But the reality is that my SD card is still on the drone. My ND filters are sometimes on the drone. My obstacle avoidance light is on the drone, and anti-collision light, sorry. And furthermore, whatever's on the SD card. I mean, if I go out and get multiple different places of footage in one day, all of that footage is on that SD card. If I don't get the drone back, I don't get the SD card back. I don't get all the work that I've put in back. So definitely, I now have a recovery plan every time I go out to make sure that I know or have an idea of how I'm going to get the drone back if something happens. As for what I did right that day, there were a couple things that I did right. For one, I paid attention to my surroundings while I was making the flight. It may not have seemed like that at first. Like I said, there was some stuff I didn't see the hawk, but I did know where the drone crashed. I don't know if, like I said during the video, you saw that tree on the right there. I knew that tree was just to the side of me when I crashed. And remembering that was part of the reason I was able to find the drone so easily. And don't take that the wrong way. It was very difficult to find the drone. But it would have been a lot more difficult if I hadn't been paying attention and known and seen exactly where it had crashed. Keep in mind, once the drone went down, because it went below the tree line, because there was so many trees in between me and the drone, I lost connection right away. I had no way to view the footage I had already taken. I was not screen recording at the time, so I had no way to go back. I lost connection. That was it. So the first thing I did right, I paid attention to where the drone was at all times during the flight so that I knew where it had crashed. The second thing that I did right was I knew how to find my drone's last location. It gives you a last location of latitude and longitude. There are other ways to find a lost drone, such as pushing the Find My Drone button and it flashes and beeps. But because of where it was, that was not very helpful. It wasn't dark out, or the flashing might have been helpful. But I knew how to find my drone's last location on the controller. I knew how to use that last location to find the drone itself. It might sound simple, but some people don't know how to use Google Maps, let alone how to use latitude and longitude to find the drone, which, by the way, I did copy and paste that into Google Maps because I was lazy and wanted to get home. But still, even doing that, I was able to do that and know how to do it so that I could find the drone. And the latitude and longitude was very accurate. It brought me within 5 feet or so of the drone, and I was able to make a full recovery of it. The props were almost all damaged, but the drone was dirty as hell. It was covered in dirt and possibly blood or feathers. I don't know. But the gimbal was messed up because the hawk decided to peck at the gimbal for a while. Other than that, the drone made a full recovery. I was able to fix the gimbal, and the drone went on to live a happy life until I crashed it another couple times. So the takeaways are definitely be careful when you're flying. Make sure that, follow the laws, follow the rules. Make sure you're doing stuff properly and flying within your ability. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stick around, sub, and you'll get to check out the next video. And I will see you guys later.